Education is facilitating learning or the acquisition of knowledge, habits, skills, values, and beliefs. And there are so many different ways through which we can acquire an education. We can acquire education through teaching, through training, through discourse, and through storytelling. And that's the thrust of our conversation today on Weekend Deal. What manner of education are we acquiring from cradle upwards? We're going to examine our school's curriculum from the primary to the secondary to the tertiary institution. We'll also look at emphasis on paper qualification. What about funding? Do we have enough money? What is the quality of the teachers, that is those who facilitate learning for our children? All this and more if you stay with us on Weekend Deal. And of course, we will not overlook your health. We're going to focus on diabetes, the care, the prevention, and the manageability. It's a warm welcome, I say to you, as you join us on Weekend Deal this weekend. It promises to be a showstopper, and we trust you will stay with us from the start until we wrap up. My name is Thelma Obazi. You're watching Weekend Deal. We're talking about education, yours, mine, that of all Nigerians. And as patriots, we should be concerned about education from cradle upwards. That's why Victor Hugo says, he who opens a school door closes a prison. And it's on that platform that Francis Ogbe launched today, taking a very close look at our school's curriculum.
It is common knowledge that education is an effective tool for a nation to attain greater heights in its quest for technical know-how and subsequent advancement. However, Nigeria's educational curriculum is in dire need of innovation, as the curriculum being implemented currently by various institutions was designed about 30 years ago, thus making it inadequate to meet the present-day needs of employers of labor.
The society is not static itself. There are so many developments that come. We are living in what you call information technology age. And in this age, new information keeps on coming in every day, rendering old ones obsolete and outdated. And therefore, the education system has to keep abreast of the various challenges in the society. And that is why it is very important that our curriculum will have to be rejigged all the time to reflect the current realities. And there are so many developments, there are so many changes that occur every time. And that's why it's important that our curriculum must also keep abreast of these changes in the society. What is constant in the society itself is change. Okay? And so the curriculum must be updated all the time to reflect these current changes in the society. So the call for a rejigging of the curriculum is not out of place.
Education is said to be the bedrock of development, but education in Nigeria is confronted by diverse challenges. These include poor funding, poor educational infrastructures, inadequate teaching aids, and paucity of quality teachers.
When we are talking of education, we are talking of development of the knowledge. Okay? We are talking of development of appropriate values and attitudes. We are also talking about development of skills. We are talking of development of skills, especially what you call problem-solving skills, or what you call life skills now. When you look at the world of work, it's different from what is happening in the classroom. Okay? There's a gap between what is happening in the classroom and what is happening in the world of work. And so when an individual graduates from the university or from the college, when they now get to their place of work, they are found deficient. And so the essence, what a country needs to do is to be able to identify those gaps. Okay? What would they require? Day one, when you get on the job, what are you going to require to be able to function? It's not that when you get to the job is when they begin to another training entirely. Okay? And that is what we should be able to do as a country, to be able to identify. And that's why the partnership between our institutions and the industry is very, very critical.
There is too much emphasis on paper qualification in Nigeria, rather than knowledge, skill, and competence. Most students with requisite knowledge, skill, and competence but lack the ability to reproduce what the teacher taught often feel frustrated.
Infrastructure is not there, no classrooms to teach, inadequate laboratory, overpopulation of even our classrooms.
They said no country can develop beyond the level of its education. The same thing, no education can grow or develop beyond the level of its teachers. The teachers hold the key to any educational system. We have started to address this through teacher professionalism, which TRC and Teachers Registration Council of Nigeria is carrying out with all other agencies of under the Ministry of Education, okay, including the National Teachers Institute. We are trying to work together to be able to address the issue of teacher quality, okay? But we have recognized that, look, we need to improve on the level of the teacher quality. And what do I mean by improving on the teacher quality? It's about training and retraining of teachers. Yes, it's about training and retraining. What is the quality of pre-service education they were exposed to? We have to understand that. How do we rejig the quality of pre-service education that these teachers were exposed to? How do we improve on it? How do we enhance the quality?
Funding is the biggest problem confronting Nigeria's education system. The percentage of the budget allocated to education annually is abysmally low.
The budget for education in all, even underdeveloped countries, increases up to 25% of the UNESCO benchmark. But today, for the past 10 years, it may surprise you that the budget for education within these 10 years is 55.19 trillion. And ask me, what goes to education is 30.9, which is 7% of the total budget.
Amount that is being budgeted for education have to be reviewed upward astronomically, because we have to think very well on this. The UNESCO came out that the minimum budgetary allocation for developing countries should be about 26% of the annual budget. We are not near that in the country. And I know some developing countries, even in Africa, that are actually allocating about 30% of their budget to education.
The devastating effect of strike action and its attendant consequences on the educational sector of a country makes this phenomenon a matter of enormous concern.
I want to link this strike with the funding that we are talking about. Believe you me, if education is properly funded, I begin to see the end to strikes.
Nigeria needs an education system that will manage its diversity and meet the challenges of the 21st century. Therefore, our focus on Weekend Deal today is on rejigging the education curriculum in Nigeria.
Many thanks, Francis Ogbe there. No doubt, we need a curriculum that can meet, surmount, and conquer the challenges of the 21st century and why motion. That's why Malcolm X says that education is the passport for a great future. And the future belongs to those who prepare for it today. That's why Channel 10 is taking a very close look at the quality of the teachers who are facilitating knowledge, beliefs, values, and skills for our children in the classroom.
According to G.K. Chesterton, he says education is simply the soul of a society as it passes from one generation to another. Therefore, education gives one the necessary skills, knowledge, and ethics required for a chosen profession. As individuals, we all have our career choices, such as doctor, lawyer, engineer, architect, teacher, just to mention a few. All these fields go through the tutelage of a teacher. Teachers play a vital role in the educational development of an individual, so they need the intellectual and professional capability to thrive in their teaching job. In Nigeria particularly, it has been observed that there is a shortfall of this, resulting to poor quality teacher education.
The problem of poor quality of teachers' education may not be far-fetched from population problem. Nigeria has a population of over 200 million, and everyone is striving to get educated. So it means that we have to produce teachers in any way to man the schools.
We have lack of information technology, a situation whereby the necessary technology that they need to facilitate learning are not there.
You can take instance for other countries around the world. They value education a lot, and so they value their teachers. If teachers are taking the way the medical people are taking, then a lot of people will know that teaching is a professional job.
Low quality of teachers training. The only formation institution for teachers in Nigeria is the College of Education and tertiary institutions, which are not really enough training for them.
With the high rate of unemployment in the country leading to square pegs in a round hole, a situation where people who are not trained teachers secure teaching job as an option, this in turn has negative effects on the quality of education dished out.
The implication of poor quality teacher education in Nigeria in the development of the education system in Nigeria is varied. One of which is the lowering of education standard in Nigeria. Our students may not be able to compete favorably globally. And then there is the issue of job dissatisfaction on the part of the teacher. Teacher then will not be able to give his or her best.
The teachers cannot teach what they don't know, and it means that their knowledge relies outside the culture of life practices. It means that they cannot feed themselves even with what they know, not to talk about helping out students.
The role of a teacher cannot be overemphasized. Hence, stakeholders outline strategies to improving teacher education.
The issue of training teachers, not only training, retraining teachers, and also change orientation of the society about teachers. And when teachers are already in the system, there is what is called continuous professional development. That one must be in place.
We can update the curriculum. I think it's old-fashioned. I think we need to give teachers more strategies to deploy in the classroom and be able to be inclusive, that is to teach every child regardless of their personal characteristics. I think we need to strengthen our curriculum. We should start addressing ourselves as a nation is how do we improve the esteem in which the teaching profession is held. And it is salaries, oh yes, certainly. That is their conditions of service, absolutely. Even in public service, are they able to rise to the top? In Lagos State, I'm always proud to say that teachers have a chance to become permanent secretaries. This is not happening in other states, in some other states, and I think if teachers know going into the profession, there is no cap on where you can reach, on how high you can go. I think that would be helpful.
There is no doubt that teachers are nation builders, and a good teacher can inspire hope, ignite the imagination, and instill a love of learning. Therefore, policymakers should continue to give this noble profession priority by equipping them with necessary tools and resources as they produce great minds to lead our country right.
Many thanks. That package came from NTA Channel 10 in Lagos. We need resources to equip our teachers. Our teachers need to fully comprehend the impact they make on the students, because they say teachers' knowledge goes on for eternity. Teachers don't know how far the knowledge they impact on the students take them and who they even pass the knowledge to. So it's important that the knowledge be accurate, be well informed, be on time, be regular, be consistent. You are watching Weekend Deal, talking about education, the curriculum. Education from the cradle and upwards. We're talking with the registrar and the chief executive of NECO, that is the National Examinations Council, NECO. Talking about Professor Godswill Obioma. Professor Godswill Obioma was for a decade Executive Secretary of the Nigerian Education Research and Development Council, amongst other appointments and positions he has held. He's a professor of mathematics education and evaluation. Nice to have you with us.
Well,
Talking education.
Thank you.
Talking education.
Yeah.
Talking education.
Good to meet you again.
Nice to be in your company.
Thank you.
Great. Education, how vital is education?
Well,
is it important at all?
Yeah, there's a dictum that says that education is an instrument par excellence for social and economic reconstruction. It's a global dictum. And I also add in a cultural context. So education is life. Nancy, you can't believe it. Without education, you can't be sitting here. I won't be here. We can't communicate. We won't be able to acquire skills for our world of work. We won't be able to live peacefully in an environment. Education has value. And it's delightful to have somebody educated. Education is just not just content knowledge. It also has to do with the behavioral change to make life more meaningful. And also to invest back to society what you've gained. So education is an instrument par excellence for social and economic reconstruction. It's a global
education
dictum.
is all.
Education is all.
It's all and more. Interesting. Little wonder you studied it to the very highest level. Tell us, what do we find at this time? Are things as they were? You have a lot of degrees, you spent many years in the educational system, impacting knowledge, sharing your knowledge. At what point do we find ourselves now? Are things as they were or even better now? Let's say maybe like 20, if we go back 2 decades?
Well, I could say it's contextual. It depends on how you look at what you want to assess in terms of change, either negatively or positively. This is 2020, so if you say 2 decades ago, you're essentially talking about 2000, which is not too far away.
Okay.
But we could take it a little bit back.
Okay.
Yeah. I recall that the education the British brought to us is limited to the people of fixed socioeconomic status. The British came here and they trained us as artisans and clerks. And as they were going, they also established some institutions that will enable people get into some positions to take over from them. But essentially, that education was very academic. And then people learned to read and write and so on. And so it was for people of socioeconomic status. But I recall also that in 1969, Nigerians began to think for themselves. The Nigerian Curriculum Conference that led rise to curriculum reviews and so on, to try to make curriculum content respond to the needs of our communities. That was 73. We had the first curriculum generally for the secondary and the primary education level. And then we began to see the involvement of tertiary institutions. We had University College Ibadan initially. And then we had University of Nigeria in the 60s, ABU and Lagos and Ife. And then, of course, there's now proliferation of institutions. But I think, like you did ask, what has happened since then?
After all said and
After
done.
all said and done, I will say that at the end of the war, civil war, the value changed completely. The value changed completely. And people looked at values in terms of money acquisition. And then there was a craze for getting into wealth. And so education depleted, the content depleted. Nigerian, the takeover of schools.
To our detriment.
Yeah, the takeover of schools didn't also help matters.
Okay.
And so you saw the pedagogy, the teaching, those that taught the content were not well motivated. Unlike in those days when the teacher was everything, the headmaster, the orator, the banker for the communities were respected, their values depleted. And so the teaching force was not well motivated, and people who were expected to be excellent in teaching they migrated to other professions. And so you saw people that came into teaching as have-nots.
Before we talk about the brain drain, though, let's look at the curriculum. You've already mentioned that. There's so much hue and cry now for a working, tenable, impactful curriculum. How do you view that? Is it okay the way it is?
No, let me first delightfully thank the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu. Just a couple of days ago, he initiated and convened the second National Annual Education Conference, which brought together experts, both from the policymakers to civil society to end users and so on. In fact, the Vice President gave the keynote address, and so one of the sub-themes of that conference was strengthening curriculum design, assessment and monitoring systems. So how do we look at curriculum? How do we strengthen it? How do we enable it meet the needs of 21st century? And so I was part of the panel that made some intervention amongst other people. And what came to the front burner was there was a need to enable curriculum, redesign it to meet the 21st century skills or needs. And also, especially in the context of COVID and post-COVID era, a number of things threw up. Positively, though, the COVID also, we had some positive dimensions. So there was a need to also enable more access to the curriculum. There was a need to rethink the way we teach the content. You know, the COVID, there was lockdown.
So our children were learning online.
Learning online and all of that.
And it was a task for the parents and the children themselves.
Correct. So Nancy, I hope I got the name correct. Is that Nancy? Is that your name, Nancy?
Thelma.
So sorry. So Thelma, there was a conversation around enabling the curriculum, retooling the curriculum, and the pedagogical dimensions to meet the 21st century skills, especially the skills, the work skills, communication skills, the knowledge skills, and so on, entrepreneurial skills, the skills that will enable you come out of school and don't look for government job, create your own job in an environment, and respond to the community, to invest back into the community. So that came up. And I'm happy that the curriculum agency and ARDC is already looking in that dimension. You know, trying to review the curriculum, enable it be content-driven, enable it be community responsive, and so on. Get into, you know, we're in a knowledge economy. You know, we've passed through various revolutions. Yeah. We're now in a knowledge economy. So the question is, what kind of knowledge will you possess to be able to respond positively to the needs of the environment?
To be relevant.
Yeah, to be relevant.
And not be a leech.
Not be a leech.
To be relevant.
I like the word.
To be responsive.
If you look at developed economics, if you look at Europe, where especially Western Europe, Asia Pacific, Japan, and if you look at United States, the education offered enables people to ask questions, to create skills, to respond to the environment, not to look for government job. In fact, those that go to civil service in U.S. are regarded as those that wouldn't be able to create skills. And so it's the other way around here.
Okay, but still talking about the curriculum, it's my hope that bureaucracy and paperwork will not bog down the swiftness of change. If change is going to come to the curriculum, I hope it will not be bogged down by paperwork.
No,
and bureaucratic engagement.
No.
Okay.
If I recall, the way we did it and the way it's being done now, is that there's engagement with the society, various significant public, the policymakers, the teachers, the workers, the industry. We call it regional dialogues. You know, so you get to have a feel of the people.
We need all of that to contribute,
to
so that will make the curriculum relevant.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
But let's talk about capital flight. Many of our students are going to school abroad. Sometimes when they stay home for quite a bit, they get restless. Some guardians and parents don't like to see them idle. We often say the idle mind is the devil's workshop, right? And also those who facilitate the learning. Some say the conditions here are not favorable. maybe to the kind of impact they want to make for their families, maybe and their communities. People are leaving en masse.
Okay. First and foremost, there's a context I would like to bring into. I did say that in those days, teachers were not well motivated, but I think the president has done something recently to create an environment to attract people with the teachers, the last Teachers Day. But that's on the fringes of our discussion. But I think I need to mention that the president has done well in that direction. So it's left for the people to take back what the policy is offering and get people back into the system. Talking about capital flight, I have two ways of looking at capital flight. There's a systematic capital flight where you take your people abroad, train them, and get them back into the system. India does it. Singapore has done it and all of that. And some of the Asian countries have done it. Brazil has done it. And so there's a way of getting people to better economies. They get the knowledge, you bring them back. And I think that is what the Diaspora Commission should be looking at. You know, the recently established Diaspora Commission, where we have people go abroad in a systematic way, not traveling out of the country out of desperation, but systematic coordinating people going to study abroad and bringing them back, and then retooling the economy with their knowledge abroad. That's what India has done, Brazil has done it, Singapore has done it, and so on and so forth. And we can do that here. Now, the other dimension is, why do people want to leave the country? When you train in Nigeria and you're not sufficiently motivated to stay back, why do you want to go? That's the other way of looking at capital flight. So you look at people that have left and have done well, and people that have left and have not done well. There are two ways.
I think that's less of that. Okay.
Yes. So, but what I'm saying is that if we retool the curriculum, if we retool what we learn in school, and we make it responsive to the community, people will create jobs and they will stay back. And if the environment is enabling, they will stay back to create their own jobs. They won't go abroad. Okay. And those that have gone abroad, there should be a policy of enabling them come back to invest back in the society.
Interesting. That is if their going abroad was coordinated in a way that they will go, learn, and come.
Correct.
But when we call it flight, then they've
gone off.
They've taken off to go and impact some other shores.
That's correct.
We do know that we're a nation in process, we're growing, we're developing, and great things are going to happen in the education sector, like we're already saying. We'll continue our discussion in just a minute. These are the leaders of tomorrow, and if they imbibe the habit of looking for, in fact, some people even look for shortcuts. When they know the proper way to do something, they're looking for another way to do it faster.
Correct.
Why do you want to do it faster when there's a process?
That's correct.
You know, our program is interactive. We have a message here. He didn't say where he's reaching us from. He says, good morning. To be frank, teachers are the less privileged people in the society, especially primary and secondary school teachers in terms of welfare, salaries, and so on. It is worthwhile for the government to address such problems, or else the system can't collapse. Tell us about that.
Okay, that's good.
You already told me that you've already talked about the president doing something to improve the take-home of our teachers.
Yeah, from institutional policy, president has laid the rules and motivated teachers from policy, increasing their salaries.
Yes.
In the last 30 years, we've been talking of TSS, Teacher Salary Scale. I recall with nostalgia, in 94, 95, 96, these discussions have been on the burner. But this is the time it's been done this year. So people should take advantage of the increase in salaries to motivate teachers on one part. On the other part, there's also discussions to up the entry qualifications of teachers. It came up in the National Annual Education Conference held a couple of days ago. Yes, that there's a need to look at those that come into the teaching profession. There's a need to look at pre-service teachers, how they are trained, how they come into training and to motivate them more. You could get people getting back into the teaching profession, not out of desperation, but because they are well motivated. And so I think we can get to that level if we continue in the policy direction we have laid down now.
If we continue to work assiduously like we're doing now, there's little doubt that we'll get to that very interesting level. Okay. Thank you very much. It's been great chatting with you today on Weekend Deal, talking about this very important sector, the education of Nigerians, so that we can build a stronger, more developed country that we can call our own. And this is the bedrock education of which you and your organization are a very integral part.
Thank you.
We wish you well in all you do.
Thank you.
And continue to shepherd our children to do great things.
Thank you very much.
Weekend Deal. You're watching Weekend Deal, and it's time to meet our next guest. Let's get to welcome Musa Aruna Mamza. He's the national president of the Association of Mobile Phones and Products Traders of Nigeria. Great to have you join us on Weekend Deal.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, Nigerians.
Okay, great to have you. We've just been listening to our youths. You know, they've not been perhaps in the classroom for quite a bit, and many of them found different things to do to occupy themselves, you know, at this time. But I know that there's something that you can shed more light on, talking about mobile telephones, products. Perhaps some training can be made available for our youths.
Thank you for this question. Actually, the mobile industry has grown bigger from what it started in 2002 in Nigeria. From that time to now, it has really grown bigger and more youths are engaged, because currently we have a lot of members in this industry, and the age group is between 18 and 35 years old. So we are doing great and we are pushing. The essence of this association actually is to unite all able-bodied youths in Nigeria dealing on mobile phones and accessories. For instance, cell phones, accessories, repairs for technicians, SIM cards, and even laptops. And more youths are being engaged, and we want to see how to really chart ways through which we will make them to be more meaningful in production.
As we're talking at this time, Nigerians are watching us, and I'm sure there are many people who are interested in knowing, how can I be a part of this? I like what I hear, and I think I can occupy myself with this. How can they access this very vibrant system?
Yes, it is an open market. Just like I said, that we started from nowhere and we've gotten to somewhere in this industry. Actually, it's a business that someone can decide to join. Once he has the funding and the proper location, he can cost well. Like you know, mobile phones are not manufactured in Nigeria, rather it is being imported. So most of the manufacturing companies actually charted a tree for distribution. For instance, we have the dealers, we have sub-dealers, we have retailers, and down to end users. So if a person wants to join, he can join any of the group based on his capacity and based on his preparedness. What we try to do is actually to see how to bring a better relationship between our members and the manufacturers. And we are doing that very seriously now.
Then, I mean, there's a kind of network, and it's coordinated.
Yes.
Well, you said something just a minute ago. You said once somebody has some money and then has a small roof or something they can take off. How do you create checks and balances? How do you know what somebody is doing? Because just like life, like what you've just said, if the telephone, if the mobile phone manufacturers have any issue, they know where to go. But if I have any issue with someone who I asked to work on my phone, when I get it back, some parts are not there, or what he said he fixed doesn't work after like a few hours, what do I do? Where do I go to?
Actually, the whole country is littered with cluster markets of mobile phones. And ab initio, from the beginning, if a customer has problem with his phone, he doesn't know where to take it to accept the trader. And the seller doesn't even know where to take it. So in that regard, we made it mandatory that all manufacturing companies should establish care centers. And I can assure you now, in all the 36 states, we have care centers whereby if you buy a particular phone and it develops problem, either by you or naturally, it will be taken to the care center to be fixed. If the problem is caused by you, you pay for the fixing. If it is not by you, it will be fixed for free. Sometimes the care center even for free to the customers because it is not their problem, so long as it is within the warranty.
I know that many youths who are listening to us want to latch in on this opportunity so that they can not only keep themselves busy, they can earn some form of income. Let's talk about capital, something we call seed capital. We call it funding. You know, when you want to take off, little matter how small your business may be, you may need some little resource to establish, put something, maybe buy some equipment, a few seats. Many times, over and over again, people talk about inability to access funding of any sort. How are you and your association making resource available for those who may need it?
Thank you. Concerning resources, in fact, phone business is capital intensive. Of course, for those of us who are already in the business, do have their capitals. But you would want to graduate from one stage to the other. Now, what our association is most concerned with is we don't want the number of jobs already created to be lost. And that is where the issue of this COVID-19 came in. A lot of our members had their capital almost diminished. And so I've been jumping from one bank to the other, trying to look for soft loans for our members so that they can be empowered. The traders who have less capital, who feels they need the loans, were able to access it across the 36 states of the Federation. A lot of our members have accessed these loans, and it is actually helping them. Now, last week, I was at the NASA head office to see how we can partner and see explore avenues through which our members can also access the national microfinance loans.
Education is a bedrock for any society that aspires, especially in building youths who will become leaders, not just for tomorrow. Some say the leadership qualities must be exhibited today. Some are talking about skills acquisition centers being provided in tertiary institutions, even going as low as primary and secondary educations. Were that to happen, where do you think your association can carve a niche for itself?
Already we're into that. We've partnered with some NGOs, like the STEM ICT program, which is floated by Dr. Wumi. By that program, a lot of youths are being trained. Currently, she is trying to extend it to Kano. She has done it in Abuja in partnership with us. She has done it in Lagos, and now she's going to Kano. What does she do in that regard? What she does is she tries to train our members who are, basically technicians, to learn how to produce the PCB, all right, and then the motherboard for mobile phones, all right, and to see how to also produce chargers. She has extended it to solar panels.
To produce chargers in Nigeria?
Yes.
Imagine making a charger in Nigeria. That would be great, wouldn't it?
It is.
For any business to thrive and then to succeed and to carry all Nigerians along, you need to have a good synergy with the federal government. How would you say you are aligning with the policies and plans so that your association can stand?
Definitely, we are very appreciative of what the federal government is doing concerning digital economy. If you can recall, it was during this administration that we had the Ministry of Communication converted to Ministry of Communications and Digital Economy. I will quite appreciate the Minister of Communication for what he's doing in that direction. And we, as traders of mobile phones, want to see ways through which we can support the government. And that is why we are always concerned about ensuring that the market is protected so that we'll be able to do our business well and see ways through which we can partner with the government. For instance, now, this issue of youth empowerment, we need our members to be carried along such that they too will be happy and see that they are being carried along to make the industry much bigger. We have issues of rent, which is going on. Once you pay rent, the next year you will see that the landlords increase rent. But to us, it's a serious concern. We want the state government and the federal government to see how they can give us land for mobile phone market or ICT centers to be built across the country. It is very important, and that is why, of recent, the Lagos State government is trying to relocate the Ikeja Computer Village to Gatankuwa Market, which is going to be one of the biggest ICT hub in the country. And we want that
on the continent.
In the continent, if not so. So we want that to be replicated in other states. One is ongoing now in Kano, where 4,000 units of shops are being built, but I think the developer is saying 1,500 shops will be made available for phone traders. And what I try to do in that direction is to see how we can partner with some banks in order to pay the shop for off-takers outrightly, and then the amount spread
over time.
And it's working.
Good thing. They say that it's from dreams that we now have reality, and you're working very hard to make this a reality nationwide.
Yes.
We wish you every success with that. Recently, we had some protest that began peacefully all over the nation, and later it wasn't so peaceful. #EndSARS. I want to ask you, did it have any impact on your members in terms of their shops and their phones?
Yes, indeed.
And then tell us again, you know, the youths we are saying are the leaders of tomorrow. Wouldn't we require them to live with some semblance of peace, love, and unity for Nigeria to forge ahead?
Yes, indeed. The EndSARS protest has affected most of our members negatively. For instance, the chairman of Osun State has his shop vandalized by the hoodlums. From the beginning, the EndSARS protest was having meanings by requesting that the federal government should ban SARS. But gradually, as time goes on, we saw that hoodlums infiltrated and started, doing all sorts of things. For me, I would like to advise our youths not to only take laws into their hands. There are channels through which you can channel your grievances to the federal government. And I believe this government is doing well by listening to the people. And that is why His Excellency, the President of Nigeria, Muhammad Buhari, GCFR, immediately gave instruction to the IG to ban SARS. And if you watch his speech, he said he has heard the youth loud and clear. And I'm sure he's going to do something to really listen to their plight. For us, we are also looking at ways through which we can ensure that more jobs are created in the mobile phone industries. So we are partners in progress. with the federal government, and I want the government to see us as partners as well, especially in youth empowerment and youth employment.
Thank you very much, Musa Aruna Mamza. He's the national president of the Association of Mobile Phones and Allied Products Traders of Nigeria. It's been great having you with us.
Thank you.
You are watching Weekend Deal. A break beckons. Stay with us. The show continues. Don't go anywhere. Weekend Deal. And that's why we're talking with Dr. Iseko Iseko. He's a consultant physician with Cardio Care.
Thank
Great
you for
to have you here again.
Yes, always good to be here.
Yes, sometime back we were chatting about some other health issue, and today we're going to focus on diabetes.
Indeed.
Is this something we should be worried about or concerned? Let me say concerned. Should we be concerned when we hear the word diabetes?
Of course we should be. Today's World Diabetes Day, and International Diabetes Federation, together with Diabetes Association of Nigeria, the Endocrine and Metabolic Society of Nigeria, we are all celebrating the day. And the idea of the day is to raise awareness, because there's a lot of concern. In Nigeria, the current studies put that 5% of the population have diabetes, and about half of those people don't even know about it. And so when they come in, they rack up heavy health costs because they come with complications, strokes, heart failure, kidney failure, blindness, and a lot of these things. And this is quite critical that we raise awareness, and that is why we're happy with NTA for also putting this together to educate Nigerians on the need for awareness on diabetes.
Interesting. NTA staff are also very keen to learn and know more, because oftentimes we're working dawn till dusk, and any information we get to improve and impact our health, we're always very keen. So it's always great to learn from you and with you. But tell us, is diabetes preventable?
Yes, to a large extent, diabetes is preventable. Of course, diabetes is multifactorial in origin, meaning that there are several things that come together before diabetes forms. And one of them is familial. That is in your genes, in your family. But not all diabetes happens that way. A lot of it is related to lifestyle and things you eat, what you do, sitting down for too long, no exercise, eating high processed foods, and those things come together, smoking, alcohol, all those come together to cause what we call diabetes. So to a large extent it's preventable. Even among those that have a familial tendency, if they keep their weight under control, do a lot of exercise, watch their diets, they could significantly deter the onset of diabetes in some studies by as much as 20 years. So even if you're going to develop diabetes at 40, based on your family history, by doing these things, you could push it far back as far as 60, 70 years of age. And more importantly, when you
Will it be better for you when it comes when you're older?
Well,
or just the fact that you know about it and you're preparing for it?
Yeah, well, even if it comes when you're older, you also have diabetes comes with complications. And so prevention is in multiple stages. Preventing the disease is the first stage. Preventing the complications is also very critical. And the complications are the ones that are really heart-wrenching, that really make the whole family to weep, cost a lot of money. The disease in itself costs, but not as much as complications, having to remove somebody's leg, for example, having to have a kidney transplant, for example, that is significant, having to have heart surgery or cardiac catheterization as we do in cardio care. Stuff like that could be quite significant. So
and agonizing.
So it's better to prevent the disease, and if you have the disease, prevent the complications by having consistent, sustainable health care, from any of your healthcare providers.
Interesting. We want to have some funny signs or not feel totally themselves and say, let me go off to cardio care now, or I like what I'm hearing with Dr. Iseko, I will go have a check. And they see some things that are untoward and unusual, and they begin to suspect, or it is confirmed that they have diabetes. What happens after that, even if they are functioning seemingly well?
Okay, so the way diabetes is, a lot of people are asymptomatic. Now, out of those that are now symptomatic, they typically have lots of symptoms like being excessively thirsty, needing lots and lots of water. They keep on drinking water again, and they urinate a lot. night, morning, they go to urinate at night, they may urinate 5 times, 6 times before morning. They could be losing weight, they could be excessively hungry but yet still losing weight, what we call suffering in the midst of plenty. After all of this, once we make a diagnosis, and typically through testing blood sugar, what is next typically is to implement the lifestyle changes we've talked about. So we talked about adjusting diet, exercise, reducing weight, stopping alcohol. Some of those things come together to make a very significant difference. And then medications now coming. Medications will come in several ways. One of most medications are oral for people that come with a certain type of diabetes. But some other people need to have injections. Okay, so they have daily injections by themselves. They are taught how to. We give them a pen. They are taught how to do it, and then they keep on giving themselves injections either every night or before meals, just to help the body take what they have eaten, convert it to energy, and reduce all the complications that come with it.
I know we have type 1, type 2.
Yes.
Type 1, type 2. Tell us about, and now we have children too. In times past, we had more of adults. It seemed to be an adult ailment. But now we hear of children, 10 years, less.
Okay, so actually it has typically almost always been both children and adults.
Really?
It's just that nowadays media is up, social media is there, so we can hear across. And then healthcare has also improved generally, including in Nigeria. So children are getting tested earlier. So type 1 diabetes typically entails that the body's insulin level. Insulin is a hormone that helps when you eat food, it turns it into energy and goes into your cells. When that insulin level is absolutely reduced, that's type 1. And typically, people have to have replacement insulin shots. Those are the ones that typically occur in a younger age. You know, we have people as young as 3 years. Our pediatric endocrinologists take care of them. We have people at 5 years, 10 years. You know, even 2-year-olds could get diabetes. And in that case, they are the organ that they call the pancreas that is supposed to produce the insulin is not producing enough, and so they have to get supplementation. Of course, it goes down the range. We now have type 2 diabetes, which typically occurs more in older people. Either could happen either way. Type 1 could also happen as well. But then we have also gestational diabetes, and that means diabetes that occurs in pregnancy. And a lot of women tend to experience this. This is one of the reasons why it is critical that women go for antenatal care when they get pregnant. And what does diabetes do in pregnancy? It's a pregnancy waster. It causes multiple miscarriages. It causes babies to be very large. It causes babies to be born with a lot of abnormalities if the blood sugar is not well controlled. And so typically, if there has been those kind of history of diabetes in the family, or if a woman's weight is above 90 kg during pregnancy, typically we want to screen for diabetes, and some of those things that everybody should look out for. And it's critical. So that's gestational diabetes. Now we have other subtypes that are caused by certain genetic abnormalities and defects. However, I think I should not bore you with all these technical details.
The more we learn, the more we share. It's a time for everybody to take responsibility for their health.
Indeed.
Dr. Iseko is talking today, but it's up to everybody watching, each and everyone, to say, I want to live a healthy life as best I can.
Indeed.
And the best way to do that is to be informed about my diagnosis. Okay, you're getting some messages. Someone is saying that Dr. Iseko, what role does Moringa plant play in the life of a diabetic patient? I don't think you're doing naturopathy here.
Okay, so Moringa plants, let me say that. So generally, we advise that vegetables be part of meals, be an integral part. It helps to reduce the amount of calories you're eating so you feel full. It helps to reduce blood pressure. Vegetables in general. Moringa is one of such vegetables and has similar effects. We absolutely encourage people to have vegetables in their diet, to have vegetables with every meal of their diet, and that helps phenomenally in controlling blood sugar. Whether Moringa or F4 or whatever, just make sure you have vegetables in there. What we do not advise, however, is stopping your medications to stay only on that, because there has been no long-term study to show that it's beneficial. Maybe it may be beneficial in the short term, but when we look at people over the long term, does it really help them in life? Does it help their quality of life, their length of life? life, it doesn't really. So on its own, it may not be enough. But however, make sure you do this in conjunction with your healthcare provider. Talk with your healthcare provider. Get to a specialist if you're having problem controlling it. Most public hospitals have specialists. Private hospitals that are specialized, just like cardio care, also have specialists that take care of diabetes primarily.
What is the special thing you and your team will be doing this year?
So this year, we have webinars for healthcare professionals, which we'll be doing. And we also have special diabetes packages, screening packages for people that don't know their status. And also, we are going out to the malls to do free diabetes screening for just passers-by to make sure that we contribute, just get the awareness out there. Also, we are ramped up our clinics to make sure that people that have problems controlling the sugar, cardio care will provide the specialists to take care of them. So that's what is happening, not just in cardio care, it's happening all over the country in different public hospitals, different private hospitals that have such specialists, and it's something that everybody should key into. Don't let this weekend pass without knowing your blood sugar. That is what, I mean, that is my gift to you.
Fantastic. I know Hippocrates said that healing starts from nature.
Yes.
And physicians need to look a bit in that direction to see how they can not just heal us, also heal themselves. I know you are doing the requisite checkup for you and your colleagues to ensure that you stay well for us, so we can continue to be in touch with you and learn from you.
Indeed.
Thank you, Doctor. Someone is saying here that he likes the chat, he likes the information, and he wished you'd have told him more about diet management. But you've talked about that expansively, about vegetables, eating fruits, eating more natural meals. Okay, that's great. Thank you, Dr. Iseka, consultant physician with Cardio Care. Great to see you again, especially when talking about our health and our well-being.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's how we bring our package to a close this day. We thank you so much for keeping our company from the takeoff point up till now. Education is the bedrock of any nation that wants to grow young, industrious, articulate, confident, and successful people who will be leaders of our great country and who can stand confidently and achieve great things. So the onus on all of us at every level to ensure that this happens. Our curriculum needs to be rejigged. More funding for schools, for institutions, for teachers. Our students need to focus on their studies and not look for shortcuts to settle for examinations and tests. God indeed bless Nigeria. We'll see you again tomorrow, bright and early. Enjoy the rest of your day.